Hello guys and welcome to the 7th episode of How to Go Pro. If you don't know what How to Go Pro is, it's basically the series where I talk to different people that has with Smite Esports to do what it takes to go pro in Smite as a player. First of all, I wanted to apologize that this episode is out a bit later. I hope you guys can live with it, and I also wanted to mention that this was actually meant to be the last episode, but since you guys seem to like it so much, I have 3 more people lined up, so we'll make it a 10 episode series, and that's gonna be it. Now, let's focus on today. Today we have Nate Ataraxia, my old teammate, my old captain, one of my great friends here with me. And first of all, Nate, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on. And as an apology to the viewers, it is my fault this is delayed because I couldn't find the camera. So that's my bad, not Nils's. So blame me.
It's a fair excuse. I'll take it. So Nate, just as I start every show, I'll start it with you as well. What's your story like? How did you get into Smite? What has your path been? Obviously, you have one of the more interesting storylines with that the casters always mention a lot with Hungry for More and that stuff. So feel free.
I would say the reason I got into Smite, I played a lot of Smite since day one, really. I started, my account is one of the oldest. It's a June or July in 2012, so it's been a while now, nearly 6 years. And the general gist of how I got into competitive is I was at university when I was playing a lot, and instead of doing my work, I played Smite. That's pretty much how it went, and I was around the amateur scene a lot during the time. I played a lot with Proxy QQ. He was kind of the guy who gave me the chances. There was a lot of team swaps back then and whatnot, but Proxy would always look after me and try getting me onto good rosters and whatnot. And eventually, a few weekly tournaments and a summer of doing that, we ended up with the Gelatas, which became Titan, which I guess eventually became Prime and Obey.
Yep. All right. So, how did you pick up Smite? Do you just stumble upon it, or?
It was actually my brother. So, my brother, his name is Damon. Growing up, we were we played games since I don't know how young we were, but like PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, those were our first consoles. And it was always a brother rivalry, or at least it was to me. And I would always try to beat him at whatever he played. So I actually owe a lot of my competitive spirit to Damon because I was a terrible loser. You've never seen a more sore loser as a child, and I've worked very hard to get past that. I'm still not very good, but it's something that he would always. If anyone knows Damon who's watching this, that's not very many of you. He is a terrible winner as well. He is someone who will really rub it in your face if you do something wrong or if he wins. So that was always a big drive for me. And what it came down to is that Damon had gone off to uni before I had. And he found Smite. He was playing a lot of League of Legends, as was I back then, and StarCraft 2 for me. And we didn't really get to play games anymore since he'd moved out. And he said, "Look, I've bought into this MOBA called Smite. It's like League of Legends, but you're behind the character and it's got gods. And we are both me, and our dad have got like a big interest in Egyptian mythology, and that was like our connection growing up. And he said that those are in it, and that he bought into the beta." And he has a spare key. So I took the key and I joined him just to beat him, or to be better at him, really. Didn't really play against him, but to be better at it, which hopefully I've accomplished by now.
So I was kind of old back in Smite, not on the competitive scene. It took a little while for me, but I started playing in like September 2012.
Really?
Yeah. I started all the way back. I just paid on my 25 FPS laptop, the Omen, not the Omen. It was like some HP, really old. It was really
pre-Omen Omen.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's actually when I won my first tournament on a laptop.
Ah, very nice.
That's the good stuff. But I watched streams back then. That was like when I a few years before I discovered YouTube. And as someone that didn't know what YouTube was, for me, honestly, it was just so big. So I watched a lot of Smite on there, and then I kind of discovered Twitch through YouTube, and I watched a lot of the competitive scene. But what I wanted to get into is that I actually don't recognize your name from the early days, like Cobra Kai. I don't think what teams were you on back then?
Oh, coming up with the names. I can't actually remember the names to be honest, but people who were around at that point will know it's Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can tell you the people I was on teams
Yeah.
with. I'm sure I will forget a few of them, but those obviously the Agilitas boys. Before that, some old names. We had Pakuza during one of the iterations of the team during the
Mm-hmm.
double jungle meta.
Uh-huh.
Was we had Pakuza on the team. I played with Smacktrix. He was a French player, primarily ADC mid, as most
Mm-hmm.
intend to be. Um, I'm going blank here. But there was so many. I don't even. The team names are a bit of a. I've got terrible memories, but
So yeah.
not
So
not the answer you're looking for really. But I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Like you could find it on the old esports
probably
stuff. But
Esportspedia, Ataraxia,
I don't
maybe.
know. Maybe someone can help me out on this in
Yeah, we're
the
gonna
comments
call a
afterwards.
friend real fast.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Get Prime in here or something.
Actually,
Proxy QQ.
Prime was late on it. Prime was not
Yeah.
during the early days. Prime came
Mhm.
in. The first team that Prime was on was Agilitas, and actually at the time, little sidetrack story is he was being groomed, I guess, to join our team. Zindan and I were picking people for the team, and we saw they streamed a lot in his mid lane. They seemed really relaxed, which is something that we wanted because we just parted ways with Proxy, who
Mhm.
was as much as I like the guy, he was a bit of a rager when it came to the competitive environment, and Prime seemed the complete opposite. He was so chilled out and relaxed.
Yeah.
So he was a big one, and he was actually being groomed by C9. He got offers from Suntouch NQ, I think, on that C9 roster,
Mhm.
one of the earlier rosters of it.
Yeah.
And he ended up choosing us, which is quite nice of him.
That
But
is
as for my old team names, I actually can't really remember. It would be in a while. I did actually though. The first time they actually put jungle into Smite, as in tried to make the jungler a role, that
Mhm.
was my. I was like, I'm doing it. That's what I was gonna do. And it was around the time Neja had just been released, and the old build I used to go was Neja with Fatalis. And
Yeah.
and we did one weekly tournament, and we did super well in it. And then Proxy was like, "No, I'm gonna jungle." I was like, "Okay." Go back to playing
God damn
Xbalanque
it.
with Sobek.
Maybe you would have
And that was
been
the
the
end of my
fresh
jungling career. Yeah.
Jingwei main in the jungle. That would have been sick. Um, I kind of wanted to go down a sidetrack as well, which is totally fine for this show. Have you seen this Paragon player called like Mike V, something like that? What is he called? He's like a
He
streamer.
Yeah, I've
He's
seen.
played
I've
for
not.
like 30 days now, and he's in
Yeah,
Diamond 3.
is he really?
Yeah, he's in my games.
And he's not played before. I've
No.
seen his stream. Like he's Mikey TO or something like
Yeah,
that,
oh
right?
yeah,
And he's
Mike
got quite a
ETO, but he's
successful.
called like Ekim W or something, which is like Mike
Oh, okay.
W backwards or something. He's in my games. Like, that's just 'cause
That's really impressive. 30 days.
yeah, because that's one of
And
the
he
big.
didn't play before.
No, he just played Paragon on a professional level.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so like when people always ask, what does it take? He's a prime example.
He's
Like,
got it. Yeah.
he's not amazing at all yet. He's not really the ranked ADC you want as a support. He's probably a bit overplaced for his skill level. But
Yeah.
give him one more month and he's going to be like the average ranked ADC. Give him a few more months. So that's just kind of to round up on one thing me and Hindu talked a bit about last week was how long does Hindu think it takes for someone to go pro if they start grinding now and they grind a lot every day and
What
they
was his
haven't played
answer?
Smite before. He said 8 to 12 months. And I thought that was
8
like,
to 12 months.
I thought that was way too little time, you know? But then
Yeah,
I see...
I kind of agree. It's a bit too little.
Yeah,
I guess
and-
if that's like the first time you play, 8 to 12 months is a short time.
Yeah, but
Unless
then,
you have Hindu Man as a coach. You know?
that's true. But then I saw Tio Mikey, and he's Diamond 3 after like 1.5 months. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, Hindu's probably right about that. If someone has that willingness and that experience, I guess Paragon like kind of plays in, you know, it's not the same key bindings, but I guess you can play with Paragon key bindings on Smite, something like that. I guess
Yeah.
you're good. All right, Nate, so we talked a bit about your like early career and stuff. What was the hardest part for you about going pro? Was it learning the meta? Was it bonding with different people? Was it like your mechanics that were really bad? Or what was like one, if you think back, what's one big obstacle that you like had to overcome as an individual?
It was the trick for me is that a lot of the Smite I played was early days, and then there was no hard competitive scene. For most of it, it was a lot of amateur tournaments and weeklies, and teams would change all the time. So I kind of was generating competitive experience when there wasn't a strong competitive scene. So it wasn't like I was trying to break into anything because nothing was there to break into, if that makes sense. There was the SPL came in quite late, and although we didn't qualify first go round, we did make it to Worlds, but it was very much it was an ongoing experience. So it was kind of just, I don't know, it was a question of, once we had made it to EU regionals in season 1 through the Challenger circuit, that was the period where I would ask myself, does that make me a pro gamer? Because I never even considered it, I was just doing it for fun mostly. I never dreamed it would become a career or something I could live off. I never thought I'd drop out of uni for it and all that stuff. But it was probably that moment. But I'd say the most difficult moment I had at that period of going pro was replacing Zindan on the team, because him and I went through all the amateur stuff together. We did so many tournaments. We made so many, went through so many teams together, kind of stuck by each other, and making the decision to replace him with Repicas, which would be the change that made us, that change made that team into a pro team. We make it to Worlds because we replaced him. And that's probably the hardest thing, because I kind of screwed over one of my very good friends. And although we're on good terms today, I still feel really bad about it. And I don't regret it, because that's the life we have today. And he has, it is what it is. And I think he accepts what happened as fault on all sides. But that was the hardest decision, I think. Hardest thing about going, because that was literally screwing over a friend to make it into a pro team, which is... But, all smart.
Yeah, that was honestly not the answer I expected, but I can definitely see it. And I think it was a good answer as well, right? That sometimes you gotta make decisions that might hurt someone you like or you love or whatever you say, but in the long run, it's fine. And if, at least in my opinion, if you consider them friends, they'll probably understand it long term.
Exactly. I think like a very recent example would be, it's like I think this is good to bring up because it's not bad blood at all. Is you leaving for NRG. I think that's on, we're still great friends, and even though I was sad to see you go, it's, if you think that that's your best choice, I completely respect it, and there's again, no bad blood, and we can still do this, and it's all good. So it sucks to make that decision. I know how hard you struggled with it at the time, but it's, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I guess, like, at the end of the day, anyway, it's not worse than this goes for everyone, right? I think for me, just giving different stuff a shot was one of the big reasons as well, and I think that kind of goes for everyone. You can't always go back, but chances are, if you're gonna keep performing on the level you are, and you were nice and you were a good player to be around, you can probably go back and make a team with some of your old teammates in the future. So that goes down to one of my most important points that I keep mentioning in this show. Always try and be nice. It's going to bite you in the ass one day if you talk bad about someone. That's what, literally, that's Twig's words.
I was going to say, was that like a Twiggy? I was ready to pop in at the end. Is that a Twiggy lesson or a Twiggy tip?
And that's what...
His word was something like, don't burn the bridges, And
that's one thing that Twig said to me. Don't burn the bridges, as you mentioned. And he said that to me when Maniac left. Because I was... Now. Yeah, exactly. I was very, very upset when they left.
Money talks.
Yeah, the good old tweet. And I don't know. I think if Twig would not have mentioned to me back then that, Nils, what if you want to make a team with Maniac? Or want to join a team with Maniac and you have bad blood? And that actually made me like Twitter DM him like, I'm sorry. And I know I shouldn't have said the things I did. It was not that I called him anything bad, but I was very disappointed with him, to say the very least. Yeah. I was pretty upset, right? I literally thought it was a joke. I actually thought it was. I was like, haha, Maniac. Oh, what are we going to talk about
afterwards? Like, haha, good one.
Yeah, literally, because Maniac wrote in the Twitter, and I remember telling my mom, oh yeah, Maniac said he would leave, by the way, haha, but I have a meeting now. I wonder what it's about. And I go into the meeting. I'm a little late. Maniac's already talking. I'm like, oh yeah, Maniac, that was a good joke, by the way. And that's Maniac's like, it's not a joke. I'm like, what? But I think if I would not have wrote back to Maniac, I think Maniac would have maybe had a different attitude, and maybe he wouldn't have liked me to be on the NRG team I was today. And I think that just goes for everyone. Like, try and be as nice as possible to everyone you can. Don't be fake, but just there's no reason to like start beef, and that's kind of funny that I'm sitting here saying that.
I was gonna say I'm waiting for you and Rafa to start a team next
with
season,
the recent Rafa beef, and for me, I'm sure that one day, in a few years, if Rafa is still around, it's probably gonna bite me in the ass that I said the things, and maybe vice versa for Rafa. One day when
he's on his shit, he's on his way out.
When I'm on my new ADC grind, you know, I'm actually gonna play every role. Nah. But in general, try and be nice, and if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it, because it's gonna come back and haunt you. Just literally, that's the advice I always mentioned, and it was going kind of down a sidetrack, but I just wanted to kind of give that story now that you're here as well, right?
That's words to live by, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think like one day, let's say NRG disbands, Obey disbands. Like I would reach out to you, right? I would definitely look through my options, and you can say, and I'm looking back at my time in Obey as a really good time. I'm looking back as these are players I would want to play with again, and I think that also comes down to that there wasn't really any like super bad feelings or something. There was a bit. I kind of fucked up a bit, but at the end of the day, it's just down to being nice and having a good experience with teams, and just all right, Nate, what do you think? Let's go back on topic here. What do you think people underestimate the most about being pro? Is it the time? Is it like the time you spend actually like thinking about the game? Is it the pressure that you can have from the fans, from the family, whatever? Or is it just like how time consuming it is in general, or is there something different?
I got two things. One is a huge issue, which I think is very undervalued, and it's something that I think will probably be addressed going forward as esports, becomes more of a proper industry. But the small one first is social time. Is we scrim at 6 or 9. It was when I was doing this at university. I neglected a lot of friendships because of scrims and stuff. You miss out on nights out and all that stuff, and it's not that bad, I guess. And I know you've struggled a lot with that with school and keeping those friendships going. And it's because you scrim during the sociable hours where you normally do things, and while you have free time, other people are in school or doing work. So that's the trouble. But that's not that's just a minor thing, I guess, with the work side, but it's something that people don't really appreciate. But the main issue, I just want to whine about that really, but and as an apology to all my friends who have neglected. But the main issue, I would say, for me personally, is the stress of it. I find it incredibly stressful, and I think that's a shared thing about the esports industry. Especially, it's less so this season, although I'm still feeling it because winning means more than anything to me. But in previous years, it's not only about winning and putting your best foot forward, it's about making money. I have a great example for this because in the first year I did this professionally, we went to Worlds, became second. I made more money in that year than I needed, at all. And then the second year, I made far below minimum wage because we didn't do well. And I think that pressure to perform, to even make ends meet, is stressful. To live in the however small the limelight is in esports, to live in the fans' eyes and have people judge you. One thing I do is every time we have a game, I watch the Twitch chat, or I guess the Mixer chat now, and read everything that people say. And a lot of people say very mean things, and it gets to you a bit. But I'd say every 1 in 1,000 people, you could probably learn something from a chat saying, why is he doing this? Or that was not good. And that's probably not good. But I digress. The point is that stress is the biggest thing. I think player burnout, because of how demanding it can be, is a real big issue. I think, who was it? Someone from CSGO on SK recently quit his career, right? And I don't really follow CSGO that closely.
It was Phelps, right?
Phelps. Yeah. He, or whoever it was, he recently ended his career, and it was quite a short career. I think it was 1.5 years or 2.5 years, right? Which is quite short, really. And he's done. And I can get it, like being on top and then not being on top anymore, and that pressure to get back there is really, it's quite suffocating, really. I guess, for the lack of a better word. And that's something that, as we go into the new season with roster changes and stuff, it's something that I guess at this point we are 0-4 in the standings with games against you and games against Malice coming up this week.
Yeah.
And it's just, it sucks, to go 0-4, and it just, I don't sleep that well. So I've got this not long ago, it's Fitbit, and it tracks your heart rate. And one thing I found is that my resting heart rate was, I think it was 62 when I put it on, which was...
That's pretty fucking high.
It was around the time that, Season 5 was still going through patches. SPL was like a month away or something.
Yeah.
And it was currently at 72. So it's risen by 10. My average resting heart rate has risen by 10 in the 2 weeks we've had in SPL.
Jesus Christ.
Well, going into the second week, So it's something that I deal with a lot. And that's my apology for the lack of streams and how inconsistent I am, because I find it really difficult to put on a strong front for it and, not let that side show through. And I'm very much about not showing the negative stuff publicly, because who wants to see that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say whenever you see a pro or you see a stream or lack of stream, or, you're going to type something into Mixer, just think, because they're probably watching, they're probably going to read it. And it is really, it's so stressful. And probably be bored by 30, even though I've got a pretty thick head of hair. But it's rough. I don't know. Maybe that's more of a personal issue for me, but that's something that resonates as to how stressful it can really be and how much anxiety you get over it. Yeah. Especially for someone who really wants to win. And
I get you.
Like, think about them. So
we are on the same page. We also lost the Rivals, right? That was the first SPL game I've lost in a year. Same for you, right?
We lost the Dig for the first time. Harry put it on Twitter, right? And it was the first time Dig has ever beaten us. And so I was like, shit, that sucks. That's,
And I don't know. I have the same. I always try and say, well, I don't really care about what people write in the Mixer chat. It's not true. I always read it anyway. And I feel like 90% of pros probably read it anyway. If they are watching. I think there's some pros that probably, maybe someone read it, but just don't care. Sure.
Yeah.
But I think the major, general people, read it. And also, don't be that guy that's gonna write something mean in Mixer chat, and then I'm watching back the games, right? I'm watching back, let's say I'm watching back our games against Rivals today, and I'm watching it with the chat rollback, and XX funny guy gamer 69 XX says, haha, EmilZy is super bad. And then the next day in ranked, I see XX funny gamer 69 XX. He's like, oh, you played so well versus. Don't be that guy, because
they're the worst.
We see that, and it's bad. You talked about stress. You talked about inconsistency of streams. What does a day look like, you, Nate? Just take a normal day that's not SPL. You have scrims or whatever. What does a day look like?
I have a good approach. Well, I say I have a good approach to this. I don't know how. I've never really talked about it with anyone else, so I don't really know. But right now, I won't use my current days, because we recently bought our own house back in November, and we've been doing it up every day. So it's a lot of that isn't the usual typical. But before this, it was, for me, my biggest thing is, the most important part of the day would be scrims. That's the bit. That's like that's your work day. That's the thing that matters the most. So my day would be making sure I was in the best possible mood for scrims. Because if you're in the best possible mood for scrims, you can you give your best for your team. You're in the best mood you can be in. You can learn better. And that was always important for me. That when I don't eat, for example, before scrims, I get really stroppy and stuff, and that's not good, and that shouldn't happen. And I'm sorry for that. But so my day tends to revolve around that. So if I don't have anything specifically planned, I'll try to do that. So if I'm in a particularly great mood when I wake up, I'll try to stream. It doesn't happen that often. Not because I'm not in a great mood, just because streaming is quite taxing for me. But it will basically be, I'll play some Smite, and if I lose some games or I'm frustrated, I'll stop and I'll just do something that I enjoy. And for me, that will be spending time with Jo, who's my lovely girlfriend, or playing other video games. Because video games is my big passion, I'd say. I think video games are awesome. I could talk about them for days and days and days. But if yeah, if it's not grinding Smite, which I can do, and if I'm really into it, then I can do it all day, and then go to scrims and then play that. But yeah, it's basically what makes me happy. I try to live about in a way that I'm always picking what's going to put me in the best mood. Because what's the point of living life if you're not enjoying it all the time? Obviously, there's some hard stuff that you got to do, but that would be generally my choice. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of Smite in there because I really enjoy Smite. I've always loved Smite. I'll play a lot of Smite. But if it's not, then I'll usually play a game or spend time with Joe just to be in a good mood for scrims. Very long-winded answer for that, but
yeah, it's fine. So maybe the next answer could be a bit shorter, a bit longer. I don't care. You do what you do. You know. What does? I'm sorry. I'm almost making you choke on your beer now. It's not good. What does a game day look like then? Now you've mentioned your normal day. You have scrims. What does a day look like when you have a game? An SPL game or 2 SPL games.
So for a game day, this really depends a lot on how well we're doing currently. But the mindset I try to keep, unless I'm underperforming, but the mindset I try to keep is on a game day, I do not like to play Smite until the game day. We will do warm-ups to the team because that's what we find beneficial, and that's what teammates have always found beneficial. But for me personally, I like to not play Smite at all until the game that matters. And the reason for that is because all these SPL games, they matter. Winning matters, but the main thing, the big goal that everyone's setting up for is it's Worlds, right? It's LAN events. It's the ones that really matter. So I like to try to mimic that in its own not really close way, because on a LAN day we don't get to scrim before we play. We don't get to go queue ranked in the morning to brush up on the mechanics. We have to go in cold after not having played the game for a while.
Yeah.
So on game days, I just like to not play Smite really until warm-ups, I guess. But if it was up to me, we wouldn't do warm-ups and we just talk about drafts and stuff. And that's the rest of the day, right? So I won't play Smite. I'll do my best not to play Smite. And then before warm-ups, I'll try to get the team together to talk about the draft. And I usually do a lot of the research. You know this from Obey, is that I'll usually go through all the drafts and get all their picks down on a spreadsheet and try predict what they're going to draft. We get the team involved to make sure that everyone's on the same page, what we're going to prioritize, what we think they'll prioritize, go through that, bring that into warm-ups and try force that template onto that team that we're playing against, and then take that into the SPL game. And then if we win, I guess, be happy, and if we lose, be really grumpy. Probably watch the games back immediately and think, what was I doing? That's really stupid. That's probably my fault we lost. Yeah,
so that was a normal day, that was a game day. Have you ever had like one point in your career, Nate, where you felt like this is enough, I'm stressed out now, I don't want to play anymore, I don't want to play this game on a professional level, like a Burnout?
Never, not once. I've been doing it for, how long has it been now? I don't know, a long time.
4 years?
I guess
I don't know.
Well, since season 1 at least, like properly competitively, at least
3.5 years now, something like that.
Yeah, at least in season 1. So no, never. There are times that I don't want to play Smite.
Yeah,
but I've always enjoyed turning up to scrims, no matter how good or bad the team is doing. I love scrimming. I love trying to learn and be better. Losing is the best way to learn, but I've never once been sick of competitive. Sometimes you can get really sick of losing, I guess. But I like, we talked about the stress and anxiety, and as bad as that is, I think it makes you stronger to suffer through it. So long as it eventually gives up, I guess.
So
no, I've never once wanted to quit competitive. No.
Okay, so you now that you haven't felt a burnout, like what is it that drives you about Smite? You mentioned you really like turning up for scrims. Like, why do you do it? Why do you play Smite on a competitive level?
I'm a very competitive person, and I love learning, I guess would be the main thing. I really just enjoy learning as a thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just, I want to be the best at something. I really care what people think about me as well. So having this is literally, my name is out there and I've succeeded at this thing, and that's means as much. I won't go around bragging about it, but inwardly, it's a source of pride, I guess. So I'd say mostly that. It's just, I'm really competitive. Like, I really hate losing and I really love winning. So it's competitiveness and caring about making a name, I guess.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot of sense. Now, last in 8, I asked this question to everyone. I also wanted to mention to you, if you have one advice you could give to someone that wants to become a pro in Smite, what would it be? As one single advice.
That's
It is a rough question, and
Right.
people tend to cheat as well. You
Oh, do
can
they?
cheat if you want. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, well, there's 2 things. I guess I'll mention.
Okay. How long do people usually take to come up with an answer? This is a big. Okay, right.
Slap.
The best advice about going pro. Okay. The way I would say it is, you are not as good as you think you are, and that goes for. I think that applies to everyone really. But you're not as good as you think you are, and if you want to really make it, there's gonna be. What's that Fort Minor song, 10% luck, 20% skill, blah, blah, blah. It's that one. It's literally that, right? There is going to be some luck involved. And it's not just about how good you are at the game. You need to be someone you can talk to. You need to be able to be open-minded about how you're going to approach the game. You need to be able to take criticism. That's a huge one, being able to take criticism. You need to be able to give criticism in a way that you're not toxic. So it's really about how you learn, because every pro player in every game is constantly learning. That's how metas change. That's how teams rise and fall. And it's who learns the best that does the best. And I think that's the same for players. You cannot get stagnant. You cannot get bored. You cannot get content. You have to always be looking as to how you can be doing better than the other person. So yeah, I'd say openness to learning would be the main one. Just really don't think you're that good. Obviously, you need some confidence. You need to realize that you are good, and that you need to frame that in a way that you can realize how talented you are at it, but also there is always room for improvement, and you can always be better than you are, and you should always be trying to get better. And you can do that by being humble. You see this guy in ranked, right? This is a really good one, I'd say. You see this guy in ranked, he's in your lane, easy for ADCs, he solos you, right? It's so easy for a lot of ADCs, or for a lot of people in general, when it comes to these kind of situations, to come up with a pretty good excuse as to why it happened. Like, oh, he's a level ahead of me, or he's on her into Neath and it's a counter matchup and it's just easy for him, or his jungler's giving way more pressure, I can't fight that. And what you should do instead is say, wow, that was, he was better than me. At least in this one instance. It isn't, you don't want to say he's the best person ever, but he was better than me right now. And then go watch his game. Go watch him play something else and learn from him. You can learn from a lot of things, even if they're worse than you. So yeah, I'd say that, I guess that was a lot of things.
Well,
one of those.
Yeah, I think the ability to learn was the biggest thing. Yeah, well, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything you want to add at all? Anything you feel like we haven't touched upon that you want to go over?
No, not really. I'd just say thank you for having me on, and thank you for putting out the YouTube content that I should be doing and I'm not doing. So
of course,
making EU better.
I'm gonna try and do it if I can get my PC to work, which is not working right now very optimally. But well, I want to thank you, Nate, for being on. There's at least 100% reason to remember your name to quote you on that song. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Nate. Obviously, this was episode 7 of How to Go Pro. The player's perspective, again, with Nate, the one and only Ataraxia. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and press the bell. And until next time, everyone, peace out.